Thank you. No document is perfect. And although this does reflect many of my caucus's priorities, and I will dare to speak for the rest of my caucus, would have loved to see more aggressive tax relief for our residents. We proposed reducing that 5% rate to 4%. But some tax relief is better than none, and I think as much as our priority is, and this was shared with the chair of finance, and she shared this view, any tax relief we put in place must be sustainable. We cannot go back to the bad old days where we made a promise to our residents and then because of fiscal headwinds were forced to break it 1 or 2 or 3 years later. I would have loved, as the governor did, to have restored the pass-through entity tax to its prior full level of 93%. But we did show some compassion, perhaps, some realization of the issues some small and medium-sized businesses face with regard to the pass-through entity tax by making it optional. And I look forward, should that SALT deduction limitation go away, to revisiting this so we are not adding an extra 7% tax burden to our small and medium-sized businesses. Doing something to address the cliff when it came to retirement income was incredibly important to both caucuses, and I'm delighted that we were able to at least take a first step toward doing that. The importance of allowing retirees to remain in Connecticut, keep more of their retirement income so they do not decamp to lower tax states is incredibly important, because residents who stay here, buy here, spend here, and from a quality of life point of view, they're not faced with a choice of leaving the state they love, where their families reside, because they need to save huge amounts of money, and this is a welcome first step toward doing that. I would, as much of my caucus would, been delighted to see our proposal to put the first ever child deduction in our tax code. Connecticut is one of the few states in the country that doesn't recognize family size when it comes to the income tax code. I know my friends on the other side of the aisle would have liked to have seen a child tax credit. We felt this was the way forward. But I welcome having further conversations about this as we create a tax code that recognizes families and the cost of raising children. But I think the best thing that came out of this revenue package was the fact that it doesn't have any gimmicks. There are no revenue intercepts. This plays straight. It plays by the rules of the fiscal guardrails that we reaffirmed just a few months ago. Again, no one in the state benefits when we go back to the bad old ways of spending, cutting spending, and not paying attention to the long-term debt, and not paying attention to the duty we owe to everyone in this state to spend wisely, spend consistently, and spend with sustainability, affordability, and fairness in mind. So with that, although this is not a perfect package, and I will add, although it's not my purview, there are some fabulous spending items, record spending on education, holding our towns harmless, fully funding ECS, the money that's going to support the Victims of Crime Act, the money that's going to support prevention of gun violence. There are many good things in this budget. Again, it is not a perfect document, but putting on my revenue hat, I think that is a fabulous revenue package. I'm sure my colleagues will have more to comment, but I will be voting in support of this budget. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.